In this lesson, we will discover that our EBS instances can be saved as a snapshot like in a classic hypervisor like VMware or VirtualBox. The backups or snapshots of our EBS volumes are incremental. Only the modified data, only the modified blocks are saved. Backing up a volume uses the input and output of your disk, so it's recommended not to back up during traffic peaks, especially in moments of dead calm. These snapshots are saved on S3 but will not be visible directly in S3. You have to be very careful because all storage in S3 is paid for, so if you have snapshots, know that you are paying to store them. It's not necessary to detach a volume before making a snapshot, but it's recommended in the AWS documentation. Up to 100,000 snapshots can be taken for AWS accounts, thus for the root account for an entire organization. This leaves room for improvement, but the cost is still quite high compared to S3. I remind you that it's paid for and it's stored on there. A snapshot can be copied from one region to another and from one availability zone to another. This is done by creating an Amazon image from a snapshot. Since our volumes are locked to availability zones, in order to move them from one zone to another, we will have to make a snapshot, copy it to another zone and restore it in this other zone in order to have the contents of our image. EBS volumes restored from snapshot need to be initialized using dd and fio commands to read the entire volume, lsblk to get the information, and mount mkfs for all the commands we saw earlier to mount our volume. Snapshot generation can be automated using the Amazon KMS Data Lifecycle Manager. We will come back to this tool later in this training. Let's take a look at the console to see how this is demonstrated. Now let's imagine that I want to create a snapshot of the volume on which I created my hello.txt file with a hello everyone message. I will have several options: modify the volume, create a snapshot, force the detachment of the volumes, and so on. Here, what will interest us is to create a snapshot. I will call it my snapshot. It can be encrypted. We can add a tag, but we won't for the moment. In any case, we will not create volume. We have the volume ID, the description that is not encrypted. Create snapshot, creating snapshot fail, hide details, API error message, value my snapshot invalid, character sets beyond ASCII are not supported. You should not use capital letters. I guess that must be the mistake. We create our snapshot, there it is settled. We close. We will be able to check if we have a snapshot, and indeed we have one. Maybe we should have put a tag on it. We click on it, we have information related to our snapshot. What will be interesting is that we will be able to have several actions on our snapshot. We will be able to delete it, create a volume from our snapshot, so there will be the message "Hi everyone" in the /data. We will be able to manage a fast snapshot, thus restoring the image quickly in the event of a failure that is detrimental to the business. Create an image from this snapshot, copy it, and we will see it a little later in the volume copy to other availability zones or other regions. Change permissions, add or modify tags. What can be interesting to do with snapshots eventually is to take a look at the lifecycle manager. We can therefore define a strategy for the lifecycle of our snapshots. We will say that, for example, it will be instant 1. Select the type of resources to backup, so it will be a volume. We will target the following tags. All volumes whose name correspond to EBS demo, so the name of our additional volume. We will be able to define a behavior with respect to each of the instances that will come from the EBS demo. How will it work? We will be able to define a plan. We will keep the default name with a frequency that can be daily, weekly, monthly, or annually. We will say, for example, weekly, this Sunday. At a time when we don't have much activity, Sundays are usually good. We will be able to define the type of conservation either in number or in age, at the level of the year or at the level of the number of days. For example, if I put 7, I will have the guarantee that I will have a snapshot taken every week, every Sunday at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I will have a conservation of 7 images, meaning 7 snapshots which correspond to 7 backups on 7 days of my volume. We can use S3 for backup, but managing the lifecycle of our snapshot can effectively offset the overhead of using S3. We're already using S3 to store our instances. This is just a personal point of view, so we can also define an IAM role or group. For the moment, I don't have much because I'm at the beginning of the training, but I will certainly have more later. But clearly, it can be a very good way to manage the backup and permanence of our information in Amazon Web Services. I think that's all for this module.